Hello, good evening, and welcome back to JACKOCAR. It is the Kia series. It's round 6 of the season, and we are heading over to the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia. You're joining myself, Gareth Hall, and for tonight, and hopefully for the foreseeable future, on a Tuesday evening, I'm joined by the car in JACKOCAR. It is Mr. Owen White. How are you doing, Owen?
Do you know, I've never been described as that, and I bet you Jacko will never let that drop. Yes, hello viewers. It's a bit weird being here on a Tuesday again, but I don't know, it's just something about Saudi Arabia on a Tuesday night which I just can't resist. And yes, me and Gareth, this is our third time in JACKOCAR commentating on Saudi Arabia, so we're getting quite good at it now. And yeah, hopefully I'll be here for the rest of this season. I do quite enjoy this league, as you might be able to tell. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more racing.
Yeah, it's going to be mega tonight. I mean, like you said, the last time I think we were here, we saw the Championship 5 in the Cup Series, and then before that, the All-Star Race, which was possibly one of the funniest things that either one of us has ever broadcast over. We've got plenty of time to go through before qualifying starts. Of course, qualifying will begin at the 14-minute mark, so we've got 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go. So, Yuri, just to let you know, and I know you're watching, I know you're listening in, and I've got it next to me, and Owen's going to have no idea what's happening now, but I have this bottle of shampoo next to me, and inside it has water, sodium, lauryl sulfate, coacamide profidol bentane, sodium sulfate, a fragrance of sodium lathryl sarcosynate, lauryl alcohol, decyl glucoside, hydrotonin, lauryl glucoside, pterosodium, citric acid, and polyquaternium 10, yellow 10, and green 3. So there you go, Yuri. That's what you wanted to know. You wanted to know what the ingredients were in my shampoo. And just to let you know, I was basically warning them that if there wasn't enough drivers, that I was just going to fill time by reading off random ingredients of things that were in front of me. So
I see.
So we've
so
gone
why
for.
Have you got shampoo in front of you?
Well,
all things.
At the time I was wandering around the bathroom, so it was to hand. So I promised it, and Yuri being Yuri, with those weird kinks that he's got, he just wanted to know the things that were inside my bathroom at all times. So there we go. That's killed just over a minute's worth of dead air whilst we wait for qualifying to go underway.
To be fair, yeah, that's not too bad.
I tell
that's
you,
impressive.
I tell you, it's something that you and Jacko can really take on board. It's these are the pro skills that I can lend offers. But
do you know, we try a slightly different method of getting a full grid. that's sort of where we try and get our time filled. Shall we discuss last week's results?
Let's go for it. In fact, that's a fantastic place to start.
Because Newgarden, as we discussed ourselves, I thought he'd already won a race in the Cup Series, but as it turns out, no, he hasn't. He picked up his first win last week, Matt Bode. Or was it Matt Bode, Matt Roseman?
Matt Roseman.
I get all my Matts mixed up, but he did in fact win Monaco in what I'm told is very unsuspicious circumstances.
No, there was nothing happening around it that would cause any sort of suspicion that out of the speed team whatsoever. It was a legitimate tyre issue from both the Hasselagers on the last lap that brought them into the box and allowed Newgarden to fight with Sully for the win.
Indeed, and that win does put him into the playoffs, obviously, doesn't it? So, I mean, all the tactics there gets more speed drivers in, and it ended up finishing speed 1, 2, 3. But the thing that confused me the most is that they gave some guy called Jack Ricketts driver of the day that day. Did you see that? The game tried to pass him off as a good driver, and I can't quite believe it.
And I made sure that I immediately overruled it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was clearly a glitch. I mean, this game's been broken since the start, and that was just clearly another case of it.
One of the worst cases of it.
Clearly. So we are here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia with about 35 seconds to go before we see our first driver out on circuit, which should be the debut of M. Shep 94. So we'll look forward to seeing him out on circuit and see what livery he's gone for. But well, some track facts for you around here. It's a 6.1 kilometre circuit. That's 3.8 miles. That's the second longest on the F1 calendar. They tried to make it longer than Spa, but they're gonna have to wait for the new one to be designed when they can create this mega circuit. It's got 400 corners or whatever it's going to have. It's a 25 lap race for this one, 50% over the usual 50. pole positions on the right-hand side of the circuit with maximum speed around about 205 mile an hour. We've got 3 DRS zones from turn 1 to turn 20, or turn 27 to turn 1, turn 20 to turn 22, 25 to 27. Distance from P1 to turn 1 is 220 metres. Full throttle for a ridiculous 79% of the lap. Pit lane time loss around about 23 seconds here, as out on circuit does go, M-Shep. But just for you that like your random trivia, random stats, random facts, the track and all of the amenities that it was built with was 37 tons of asphalt, 600,000 tons of cement, 30 square meters of bricks, and 1,400 tons of glass. So that's 600 tons of cement equates to 2,000 Boeing 747s and almost 2 Empire State Buildings. So there's one of your random stupid facts that you don't need to know, but we'll kick off qualifying.
Yes, we will indeed. And so this is Matt Shepherd, yet another Matt, just to confuse us even further. And he's hit the wall on his way round the out lap. Hopefully that hasn't done too much damage to his car. Of course, he'll still have to do the lap, regardless of what damage he picks up. And he's got a pretty basic black and blue livery, or well, blue and black livery, and a cheeky wee green helmet to go with it. I do quite like how it looks, and this is one thing I'm looking forward to with getting to do the Kia series, because I haven't really seen everyone's liveries, and I'll be able to judge them all. It feels a bit like the olden days back in ILR when I was able to sit here and just abuse everybody.
Well, and, I feel you've got open reign now to come in and basically say what you want. But here we go, M-Shep to start off his lap of this Jeddah Corniche circuit, making his way through what is quite a technical circuit, really, especially this opening sector. Very easy to get it wrong. I'm expecting to see a lot of invalidations during qualifying tonight, and equally tyre pressures are going to be pretty key around here, because you can find the back end swapping around pretty quickly, as he's lucky to get away with that as he makes his way through the end of the first sector. Just about keeps an inch of that black rubber inside the white line as he heads now into the second sector.
You can tell for that first sector he was more interested in surviving than he was at taking enough speed for that. But do you know what? That might just be the correct tactic tonight. Getting a time on the board, as you say, will not be the easiest thing in the world between hitting walls or going off the road, as he gets himself onto the properly flat out stuff and all the kinks of the DRS straights. And we are about 16 corners, something like that, into the... We're a bit more than that, actually, aren't we? We're at turn sort of 22, 23 here. It's so difficult to keep up with all the corners, but because for some reason they couldn't keep all the straights straight. But it does create a chance for drivers, and they've got to keep themselves alert. Will they be hugging that inside line all the way towards 27? Matt Shep heading towards that final corner now. Easy to get it wrong, just ask Max Verstappen. But as Matt Shepard comes out of the final corner, he is going to see the finish line, and he will set the benchmark, which will be a 1 minute 30.999.
And that's not a bad time to start off your debut here, as we've now got the first ever appearance in the Kia series for Speed Knighton. The first ever champion of JACKOCAR is making his first appearance in Kia after 91 starts. This man is currently dropping down from Cup for this evening without a win in 915 days.
How the mighty have fallen, eh? We keep asking, when's he going to win another JACKOCAR race? I can't say I was expecting it to happen tonight, but this could be a pretty good opportunity for him. And, well, I mean, his season sort of hangs in the balance at the moment in the Cup Series, and we're still waiting for him to really hit form. Have been, for, as you say, nearly 3 years now. That's kind of mad, isn't it? It's been that long. But could he get some form on tonight, and then hopefully carry that on to Austria later on this week in the Cup Series as he heads himself towards the final corner? He'll be expecting to P1 tonight, realistically. I think he'll be disappointed if he doesn't win this race, though he is, of course, against very capable drivers. As he sees himself come to the finish line, you'll see he'll be a good couple of seconds clear here as he hits a 1 minute 28.699, so that's 2.3 seconds clear. And I'd be, interested to see if anyone gets close to beating that. He's very happy with the time. He's done a wee spin through the first chicane.
That is a solid lap time. It's, I think, going to blow the majority of the times out of the water. I was expecting pole to be in and around the 29s, looking at the Cup times earlier this season, perhaps the lower end of that. So Pete's really put in a nailer of a lap there into the final few corner. Yeah, it's almost comic book style, that sort of dark DC livery from Thomas Nevitt as he makes his way down in towards the line. What's it going to be? It is a 32.958 from him, and I believe that means we've now got Michael Okeke out on circuit.
Michael Okeke,
who's pointing backwards.
Oh, another driver who I'm waiting to see a win from. It's him and it's Pete, the two drivers that I think I want to win the most, really, because it's been so long for both of them. But it's not going to happen if he keeps doing that, Okeke. And, well, he will be starting last in this race because he is 15th out of 15 already. And so, unless anyone gets black flagged, I suppose, we're not going to see anybody else end up behind him. So that's a shame for him. But it does mean we can move on to, and you won't believe this, someone called Matt up next, I believe.
I believe, actually, we've got...
Or is he not actually there?
Have we got... I believe it might be Quinn.
We have got next. Quinn, actually.
So yeah, so it's Danny Quinn out on circuit, just making its way through turn 1, turn 2. Quinn going for the same livery template as we saw Thomas running a little bit earlier, running the speed sort of sky aqua blue at the front, a bit of gold and black at the back as Okeke gets DQ'd for blocking the pit lane. How'd you do that? Okay. But Danny making his way through, and Danny's not having a good season at all. He's sitting, well under the cut line, 27 points under the cut line with a -1 playoff point to his name. So starting off the chase really a little bit of a downside in a few races time if he sticks it. Well, and unless he can pull out a race win in the next few races, we'll find out, as he's lucky to just graze the wall there on the exit. But pushing hard is Quinn. He knows he's going to pull in a good result tonight. It's just been a season to forget for him so far, but I'm sure you know, like, you just need that one race just to get your confidence back up and get yourself into playoffs.
Exactly. If you turn up once in the first half of the season, that's all you need to do. We saw it. The best example we've ever seen of it is in the actual Cup Series, where we saw last season Jacob won the worst start in JACKOCAR history at the time, and then he came here and won the championship with his only win of the season. So you only have to show up once, and it can make the difference as Quinn moves up to second place, 1.8 seconds off the pace at the moment. And here's an old face I haven't seen for a while, Bazza. Let's see how he gets on as he heads through the middle sector.
Good to have Bazza, who's kind of starting to fire on all cylinders in the start of the season. He had a bit of a shocker to start it, but as I said, has a slight wobble on as he makes his way through the exit of the first sector into the second. But end of the second sector into the third, I should say. But Bazza he's not really had the season that he'd wanted so far. Another one like Quinn that's kind of just been up and around the top 10. I think he'd averaged around about 10, I think it was 10.2, his finishing result. So one that's going to need to pick up some points if he is to have a playoff push. It looks as though it's going to be the chase for him, though, but it's a 32.422. Puts him ahead of Thomas, currently in P4, but with plenty more still to come out.
Yes, next up we do have the big man himself, the man who named a whole league after himself and can't even get into the top tier of it, as he sits currently 15 points off the cutoff. So Jacko does need a few good performances, and he knows I will be watching him very closely indeed. So I'm hoping for some big things here for him as he heads through the final corner. Interesting livery pattern, isn't it, on his car? He's got sort of a cheetah-ish looking livery, but then he's got sort of white and red. And it's I love it or hate it sort of livery, I think, as he goes third fastest. It's interesting. It'll stand out. It
does indeed, and he's a little bit of a giveaway from my livery I'm going to be running this Thursday. So Jacko, good luck there from him. 30.855 puts him second row of the grid so far, but the times off of we've got out on circuit. We've got Ben Harrett, who's out on circuit in validation. So another Cup driver coming down, but starting at the back of this one. So both Okeke and Ben Harrett starting at the back of the grid. So that'll be interesting to see them fighting through. But here, although the overtaken positions, especially into the final corner, are quite fruitful, that first sector and the first lap is going to be an absolute nightmare to navigate.
And I tell you what, another guy that's going to have to navigate it is Rage Man, because he has got himself invalidated, also known as Robin, which is actually his name. But he has, he's been hitting all the walls out there, unfortunately, so not having the best lap, and of course you can see it's invalidated. And so, another driver that we've seen in the Cup Series, not all that much this season, but what he's shown in there, he's shown some good promise, so I expect good things tonight. And let's move on to your driver that very nearly won the championship here last season in the Championship 5. It was Leroy versus Yuri. Yuri coming out on top, but Leroy certainly put up a good fight. And yeah, he'll be hoping he can come back here and yeah, get himself on the top step of the podium. I would expect he'll have some good pace around here.
I mean, yeah, the Hasselager brothers definitely looking as though they're the favourites this evening. Although, of course, we've got Pete and some of the other Cup drivers coming down, but Leroy very, very comfortable around the circuit. It's actually one of my least favourite ever to race around, but Leroy loves it. Qualified second last time we were here in the Kia series. And as you say, finished second as he came across the line with his brothers. Of that 3-second time penalty effectively costing him the Kia Series Championship. But what can he do as he comes up to the line? It looks as though it's going to be about a 29. It's only it dips into the 30s, 30.038. But still, like, what's that? 1.3 margin to Pete. So that's a huge gap Pete's got at the front.
Massive advantage. He must be absolutely loving life right now up at the front. As we move on to Michael O'Sullivan. Let's see how he gets on. As he heads on to the DRS middle part of the lap now and heading towards probably the most difficult high-speed corner in the whole game, especially if you're on a pad, the 22-23 section, because you had that little bit of delay when you turn in. If you get that wrong, you're in for a big accident. I'm wondering if anyone's going to get that wrong while actually racing, because it could be one of the big flashpoints. It certainly is in real life. As through the final corner, Michael comes, and he'll be onto the DRS, and it'll be a straight shot to the line from here. Only got 4 more drivers to go after this, by the way, so we're very nearly at the end of qualifying, but no one is getting anywhere near Pete. No one has even got into the 1 minute 29s, let alone the 1 minute 28s. That's how far ahead Pete is of the pack. Yeah, as it stands.
And that's a solid lap from Sully as well to put it P3. Just puts himself between Quinn and Leroy. We've now got Colton Herter, Newgarden out on circuit as he makes his way through the back end of the circuit in towards the final sector. And Newgarden, last week's race winner, now into the playoffs, of course, and we'll run through the rules of JACKOCAR in between the gap of qualifying and the race, if for anyone that's joining us for the first time. But Newgarden was absolutely delighted, as he should have been. He's been there or thereabouts so many times, always, like, we've seen him finish on the podium, never quite jumped onto the top step, but this time he did manage. What's it going to be? It's going to be about 30.291, and these speed guys are locking out the top end of the grid very nicely indeed.
It feels a bit illegal to see someone called Newgarden running the Gainbridge Honda colours, but he's done a very good job of it, though, so I can't really slander it all that much, as he does go 4th fastest. Now, who have we got up next? Matt Lester.
Matt Lester, who's having a really strong start to his debut season here in Kia. A couple of podiums he's picked up so far. He said he's not had too much practice here, and in fact, he hadn't even done the update earlier this evening, so it shows the lack of practice he's had so far. And this isn't a track, really, that you want to come in blind, but we'll see what he can do. There's a car that's going to be in the middle of the circuit, it seems, just up in front, but he's managed to navigate his way around Sully. But onto the main straight now, and that letterbox will open on the rear wing, and it will send you down towards the line. It looks as though it's going to be about 31. It's a 30.801, so not a bad time there from Lester. He puts himself 400ths of a second faster than Jacko, currently on the 3rd row of the grid.
And next up then, Jess, nearly at the end of her lap already. Only 1 more corner to go. She is we're expecting some good speed from her tonight as she comes through that final corner. Already well into the playoffs, of course, after that win earlier on in the season. DRS opening again. Is she going to get anywhere near Pete's time? The answer is no. It'll be yet another driver in the 1 minute 30s. If it wasn't for Pete in there, we'd be having a very close, tense end to qualifying. But Pete is just that much faster than everybody else. Yuri's tapped the wall, actually, on his final attempt. So I don't think he's going to get close either. I'm wondering if we can already call Pete the Pulsed, because he's just so much quicker than the rest. Unless Yuri pulls us something magical in this last sector.
I mean, we saw the almost celebration from Pete as he came down into turn 1 after finishing his lap. He knew that 28.6 was going to be a pretty high benchmark for anyone in Kia to get anywhere in. As you say, anyone from Leroy down, it is looking mighty close. But what can Yuri do? Of course, last season champion, won it here. What can he do as he comes up to the line? It's going to be a 30 again. It's a 30.008. He puts himself 300 a second faster than his brother and puts himself up onto P2 as the Haselagers swap positions that they qualified in the Championship 5 just 125 days ago, with Leroy now in third and Yuri in second. But that 128.698 wasn't even sniffed at by the rest of the grid.
That is one of the dominant qualifying performances, but can Pete make it happen in the race? Like I say, he's had to come a whole tier down to try and take a fourth career victory in JACKOCAR, and it has been such a long time. So will he be able to do it, or will he, as we often see, will there be anything going wrong? He often spins out of contention or has some sort of penalties or something. So I'll have my fingers crossed for him, but yes. You have that sort of sinking feeling with him regardless of what he does. But he is on pole for now.
He is indeed.
And that'll not change.
And I'm sure regardless of whatever the result is, we won't call it a hollow victory if he's had to drop down into Kia to get a victory. I'm sure he'll take whatever he's given at this point. If you just need to break that duck. And, well, it's a speed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So the speed guys will be absolutely delighted with that, as Pete qualifies on pole, Yuri in second, and Leroy in P3. As we go back to the last time we were here as part of the Kia series back at the Championship 5, 14th of June 2022, as I said, 125 days ago, when Yuri won the championship, it was actually ART Connor that took pole position, but this time around it is Speed Knighton with that 128.697, 1.3 seconds faster than Yuri, who's 300ths faster than his brother Leroy, as they lock out 2 and 3. Sully and Newgarden in 4th and 5th, with Jess and Quinn 6th, 7th. Lesty, Jacko 8, 9, with Matt Shepherd in rounding out the top 10 on his debut. Bazza in 11th, with Thomas Nevitt, Rageman, Ben Harrett and OKK Cup drivers starting from the back of the grid in 14th and 15th. So work to do for both of those guys.
Definitely good potential, though, for a decent racer. Like I say, I reckon that whole back three, actually, they'll be coming through the field. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they get through. Hopefully no big pile-ups. We, obviously in the Cup Series, if you watched the race here in the Cup Series, we saw 2 massive pile-ups happen at the same time, at the same corner. And it wiped out 8 cars, I believe. We can't really afford to do that tonight, but I imagine some of the drivers who were involved in that racing tonight will be very much aware of the potential of it, and I'm sure Jacko will be the most alert about it. So I'm wondering if anyone's going to take this first lap maybe a little bit more cautiously than you would expect, and this could be where others could take advantage. You've
got to think, it is one of those first laps where you just do have to perhaps think about the long-term element of the race. And whilst there's of course you've got Jake, Jess, of course Jake not here tonight, but you've got Jake, Jess, Yuri, Leroy and Newgarden already in the playoffs. There are still others that will be wanting to think a little bit more long term when it comes to the regular season championship, perhaps even some playoff points. Of course, we've got several places to get playoff points tonight. We've got, of course, stages on lap 7 and 14. We've got poles already gone to Pete, so of course he picks up the bonus point for that, but won't be using it in the playoffs, I would imagine. But of course, we've still got plenty more to come, whether that be the race win, whether that be P2 or P3. 14 seconds left to go in this one. Last time here, we had a safety car on lap 3 to lap 6, lap 8 to lap 12, and lap 12 to lap 15. So safety cars do come out and will come out. It's just pretty much a case of when. So we get ready to kick this one off here. It is the 6th round of the season, the JACKOCAR Kia Series. We go 3, 4, 5, red lights, pause. They're waiting, and it's out and underway here, as it's a good getaway from Speed Knighton as Pete pulls to the outside, but down his inside is going to go Yuri. Takes the inside and the whole shot into turn 1, so it's a good start from Yuri. Pete filters into second position. Then we've got Leroy and Newgarden's had a good start, but behind there's a little bit of contact there between the two speed guys of Sully and Newgarden. Looks as though, I can say we just about had everyone through, but behind you could see, I think that was Quinn that's gone around, so it was Quinn that had a little bit of contact, was picked up by someone else's, Ben Spurs picks up, so Ben Harrett picks up a 5-second time penalty already, as well, that's a shame for Ben Harrett. He already started at the back and has picked up that 5 seconds, but couldn't really do anything. I mean, we saw the same thing happen to Nikita Mazepin and several others in the real life thing, the first time they came here, but now Lesty up into P5. Good stuff from him, and there's a brilliant start from Matt Shepherd up from P10 into P6. We're only halfway through the first lap.
Yeah, fascinating then to see that Yuri is starting on those medium compound tyres. As way off the road goes Newgarden and Matt Shep. Newgarden, who's on the hard compound tyres. That's a real surprise. So interesting tyre choice there. But that crash at the start, that was very similar, as you say, to what happened in the 2021 race, but also very similar to what happened in the Cup Series race when too many cars went for it into that turn 3 section. They ended up nearly 4 wide there, and it was just too much for them to handle. And once again, we see accidents happening there, and all the fighting in this has let Rageman move up into P9, and if he can get himself past Newgarden, which he will do, P8, that is a stunning start for him, as Jacko moves up into 6th place alongside Matt Shep. Is he going to be heading into the 6th room, or he's going to move into the pit lane? He's got front wing damage. Leroy as well into the pits. Yuri on those medium compound tyres. You would expect that Pete will be getting back past him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, a couple of pit stops there for Leroy, Matt Shepherd, Newgarden, Quinn, Ben Harrett and Thomas Nevis. So they're getting rid of mandatory stops. Of course, JACKOCAR, if you're here for the first time, it is a mandatory 2-stop race for everyone, unless you're running a Joker, which you can run 1 time a season, and however, no Jokers tonight. So it is a run to the flag, under 2 stops for everyone. It is points for all positions, 20 for the win and then 15 descending from second down. At the moment, it's Yuri, as you say, on the medium tyres, leading by half a second to Speed Knighton, and Pete sitting pretty happily behind him. You've got to think that, is this just a case of Yuri pulling him along and he'll just wait there and look after and just conserve these tyres? Because it does look as though at the moment Pete's actually got the speed advantage on Yuri, but he's quite happy just to sit behind him. They've got a 3-second gap to Michael in 3rd position.
The thing is, you can't afford to sit back there for too long, because Yuri, of course, being on the medium compound tyres now means that he'll be able to run softs all the way to the checkered flag once the pit stops begin. So that's why Pete is overtaking him now, because he's got to pass him, make a bit of a gap, because he's going to have to take the pain of a set of medium compound tyres later on. So Yuri's task now is to hold on to his DRS. May not have to worry about trying to overtake him as such, but as long as he can stay with him for the next 3, 4, 5 laps, then that will be what makes his race tonight.
Now, this is me going from being a commentator to an analyst, and we've got a yellow in sector 2. Is that for Ben Harrett? It is for Ben Harrett's gone. So yeah, a disaster from Ben already in this one. As he's had some information. Oh, we've got our friends in the comments as well. It's great to see them back once again. But Ben, has he got away with front wing damage? It looks as though he might have just spun it on the curb, so he looks as though he might just be free. But we're now on lap 3. If you were in the guys' positions now, especially these guys on the softs, do you want to get rid of one of these pit stops early, knowing that last time we were here we had 3 safety cars in the opening 15 laps?
I suppose you just want to... If I was a driver in a situation, I wouldn't be starting on mediums or hards. That is a big risk. If you want to be getting at least 1 pit stop out of the way in a reasonable time, I think they'll be trying to get to the first stage point, all these drivers, and just hoping. And then after that, sort of following what the safety cars do. I suppose that is where people who've pitted early get the advantage, because they'll be able to sort of chill out really when safety cars come out. So yeah, it is interesting to see the dynamic. I'd hate to be a driver in this situation, because you really do have to think hard about what you're going to do. But I wonder if we will see sort of less fighting as a result of that. And I'm wondering if Ben Spurs has picked up some floor damage. We tend to see drivers constantly spin like this if they have got floor damage. Of course, he was involved in a big accident on lap 1, and so I think even a safety car may not help him today, which is a real shame. Seeing him right at the back as Bazza, another driver on medium compound tyres, gets overtaken by OKK, who is up into the top 5 right from the back of the grid, so he's doing quite well. And his move down from the Cup Series, and next up is nearly 6.5 seconds though, so you can see where that sort of front group's already broken away so much. Of course, pit stops for drivers in between helps with that, but the field spread's mad. 4.5 seconds as well up in the lead, so Pete is doing everything he needs to do so far to make this happen.
I was just about to say actually that we hadn't really noticed that Pete had just effectively turned the afterburners on after getting past Yuri. 4.5 seconds in two laps, so he's pretty much trying to protect a stop from off the softs onto a set of mediums or hards, I'd imagine, in the next few laps. But Yeah, we've got Jacko who came out just behind Newgarden, the pair of them that have Jacko on a... Well, he's just made a stop. Newgarden a stop before, so he's managed to hold on to position. But Jacko still within DRS now, so he can use that down the back straight, as of course we're on lap 3 or lap 4 now, so DRS will have been inactivated, activated, one of two. There's a word in there somewhere. But up in front in 7th position, we've now got Jess actually all over the back of Bazza. So Bazza, after being passed by OKK on the last lap, has now got Bazza.
Safety car?
Yeah,
I believe we do.
Out.
Matt Shepherd is into the wall. He's going to be in the wall again. No need to crash it again. You've got your safety car. Rageman, was he... Or sorry, well... Yes, Pete was committed to the pits, I believe. That's an interesting decision to black flag the race leader, but Yuri is out of the race. For ignoring yellow flags, that tends not to be a straight black flag, but... well, for whatever reason, the game's decided that he's done something so awful that he deserves to be black flagged. I was going to ask though, was Pete committed to the pit lane by the time the safety car came out? I would imagine he was.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to double check because from what I could see on the mini map, it didn't look as though he was, but he may have. If he was in the, it'll have to go to VAR. But
he was committed.
Okay.
He was.
So
just
about got away with that.
By about 5 seconds.
I mean. That's a real shower. I stand by the steward's decision to disqualify Yuri.
It's karma, isn't it? Really,
exactly. Yeah. So Yuri, he's already through to the playoffs. This was just stat padding. He's already got the record most wins in Kia anyway. Doesn't need any more. But that's currently left. Lesty leading from Rageman. Pete, who's already made a stop in P3 on a brand new set of mediums, so clearly came in at the absolute perfect time. OKK up in P4 with Bazza, Jess and Leroy, who's already made a stop as well. So effectively we've got a top 3 of Pete, Leroy and Sully, with Newgarden and Jacko behind. So this is what I was saying just a few laps ago, is that these guys that were staying out on softs that are kind of playing a little bit of Russian roulette with the safety car, because it's almost guaranteed to come out. And unfortunately, well, it's lap 5, so it's going to maybe just about keep them on strategy if they're looking at doing a soft medium. But of course, as soon as the safety car comes up, you bring everyone back together, and as soon as you make that pit stop, you lose yourself 20 seconds.
Yeah, so those guys haven't pitted. They'll be, I suppose they'll be kicking themselves unless they are Bazza, who I suppose can maybe get something out of this. He's now sitting in P5. He won't get to lead any laps or anything because of Pete's timing on his pit stop. So, yeah, I think this sort of early pit stop phase may well have Pete staring down the barrel of a victory now, especially with Yuri out of the picture. So, I guess the rest of them will be looking at second place and sort of seeing what they can fight for there. Brageman, though, up to second place now in all this. He has been driving a very good race so far, and so I suppose he'll be looking for a podium from the back, and certainly has the pace for that. OKK as well, not doing too badly, getting himself up there. And then of the pitters, who would be the second highest then? It would be Leroy. Leroy up there. So Leroy, can he try and challenge Pete? There's a few cars in between him and the race leader, but well, I'm sure he would imagine he'd hope he'd have the pace. As you say, he likes this track quite a lot. Finished runner-up to his brother in the championship last season. Now his brother's out of the picture. Can he take a victory tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we like to see. It changes it up. Looks as though we're not going to get the rain that we had in the All-Star race, which is a bit of a shame. It's a lovely evening in the skies above the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Good evening to everyone watching. 18 of you, which is great to see everyone watching the Kia race tonight. Great to have everyone on board. It is myself, Gareth Hall, and OY in the comms box for this one. And we're bringing you the 6th round of the season. 2 more of the regular season to go. We go over to Kota next week. As Yuri says, he overtook the safety car, but he was ahead of it before it came out the pit lane. So it's just wonderful F1 22 being F1 22. But as I say, I stand by the game's decision to disqualify Yuri. It makes it much more funny for everyone else. But as you're saying, Rageman up in currently in P2, yet to make a stop. However, though he's the closest under the cut line, 12 points under the cut. So he needs to really have a good result to get back involved in what closing up to those 12 points that currently sits with Michael O'Sullivan, who of course is really a net third place at the moment. So Sully, who finished on the podium in Monaco, was absolutely delighted with that. Could have been in for the race victory. However, the pit stop kind of just hampered him, and genuinely I think what it might have been, I didn't check with Sully, is that Newgarden jumped Sully in the pits. One of them got an optimal pit stop and the other one just got an okay pit stop, and that was effectively what cost them what was then P1 and P2. So that's how close it can be if you don't absolutely nail that countdown from 5 seconds.
And of course, we should mention, if we're talking about sort of race leaders and all that, Matt Lester is the race leader. He's just sort of been sitting there waiting to get a proper mention, but he is going to have to conduct a safety car restart at the end of this lap, I would imagine. We've been waiting for Matt Shepherd to park at the back of the grid, but you can see he has arrived now. And so, hopefully, we will see a restart to this race. And this is where you will definitely remember this, because you were there, I believe. This is where the first restart in the Cup Series is where it really all kicked off, because people always are a bit tentative when it comes to when are you going to make the first pit stop, when's the first safety car going to come out. But now that the strategies are essentially set in stone as to what people are going to be doing in their minds now, they've had this first safety car, their gambles either worked or not worked, now it's time to race, and that's where accidents could happen. So this is where this race could come alive, hopefully not come to pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's the old adage of safety cars breed safety cars, and we'll see if that happens, because Lesty, who's he's led a couple of safety car restarts, so he knows what he's doing. He knows to wait for the appropriate line on the track surface to go, which is, I believe, one of the DRS lines. I think I'll have to.
Should be DRS activation line. I
believe it's DRS activation line. I was just quickly trying to look at the images put online, but I think it is the DRS activation line. So he'll be able to go from then. Safety car is in this lap. The lights have gone out on the safety car, so everyone will bunch up, get a little bit of tyre temperature in. It'll be Lesty Rageman, not Speed or Pete Knighton in P3, Michael O'Kk, and then we've got Barry Baldwin in P5. Of course, look out for Leroy. He's got some softs on that he's put on quite recently, but it is very much Pete on the mediums. That's really actually got to watch out on this one, because he's on a set of tyres that he wants to take a little bit longer. He doesn't want to pick up any front wing damage, but do we get Leslie waiting enough to get it going? Do we see him go maybe even a little bit later to not give anyone a tow, because it is quite a long straight here, so he's going to wait. Is he going to do what I do and leave it as late as possible? Yeah, there we go. Just don't give anyone the option of closing in. As you can see, Rageman is all over the back of him, but here we go, goes at the line, and Leslie gets a good jump on everyone behind. Rageman's going to get Pete going down the inside. No, thinks better of it, but behind you see Bazza and Leroy fighting over position as well, so good start from them guys. Jess drops down, however, down into P8, and looks like we've got a couple of swaps of position. There's Newgarden and gets past Quinn.
Oh, Leroy's on the inside of Bazza into 4. That's a tricky move to make, but he's made it stick as Jacko falls to the back of the grid. Has he been involved in some sort of incident? There was yellow flags out. No damage for him or Thomas Nevitt, who were down there with him, as Rageman climbing all over the back of the race leader, Matt Lester. Where's he going to go, inside or outside? Rageman to the inside line. Not the most optimal line for overtaking here. Risky to make this one work. Easy to make contact on the exit, especially with how the traction is there. But he stays alongside. This is terrific stuff on the restart lap, and Matt Lester has to let Rageman go, and he's into the race lead. Pete all over the back now. He's got to be careful. Only one car now between himself and Leroy, and that car is OKK, and OKK now trying to come past Matt Lester, so there's now 2 cars in between, and a hectic restart lap, and it's working out well for Pete so far.
Yeah, and it's as you say, OKK all over the back. Oh, wow, that was close. It's OKK. I mean, he grazed the wall trying to overtake Bazza earlier, and there again you can see really utilising as much of the track as possible. He's going to go deep and into the back of Lesty. Looks as though he'd maybe got away without collecting any damage there, but however he does lose a position to Leroy, but Leroy now in for making his second mandatory stop.
Oh, he's hit the back of Lesty. Has he picked up any damage? I really hope he hasn't, because it could wreck what could be a very successful undercut. Any safety cars from now till the end of the race, it puts Leroy in a superb position, although he is on the hard compound tyre. But the point is, he now has all his mandatory pit stops done.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, that puts him in good position if we go green to the end, as Rageman gets all out of shape going through the exit of the first sector, and Pete can just wait for his moment here. He doesn't need to rush this overtake, and in all that melee of that mess before, we saw OKK speeding into the pit lane. He got himself 5 seconds, which will serve on his stop as well a little bit later on. But Pete really hounding the back of Rageman as we've got yellow in sector 1.
Baza, wow, into the wall. Is he going to get collected by Thomas Nevitt? He was nearly collected by Quinn, but unbelievably, they've all managed to escape that situation unscathed, apart from, of course, Baza, who hit the wall, but he won't mind the fact that he's not got a missing wheel, because I tell you what, that was close. But here for the race lead, here comes Pete. He's on his way around the outside. It should be a pretty easy move. I'd be surprised if Rageman fights it particularly hard, because he knows Pete is probably the faster driver, and he is back into the lead of this race.
Yeah, pretty comfortable there from Pete. Didn't, as you say, Rageman didn't need to fight it. In fact, Rageman comes into the box, so kept Pete at bay as long as possible. Tried to hold him up, but as soon as he got ahead, you can see into the box to make his stop. So that releases Pete, lap 10 of 25, so we're already firing away through the laps of this one. We've been, one safety car period, as we'll see. Where does Rageman filter out? He's got OKK that's come into the box as well, so OKK makes his second stop. But Rageman's going to come out in what looks to be 5th position as Sully's coming down. Sorry, it's okay. There's Sully that made his second stop. My apologies. But so Sully making his second stop. Lesty is now being chased down by Jess, OKK, and Jacko, who's got his way up past Newgarden. We've got a yellow 4.
Is that for Quinn? It is for Quinn. That's a tricky place to get your car recovered, but he's managed it. But Quinn, who was right up there, had made his first pit stop in the race, and now having a spin on those hard compound tyres, so they're going to be a pretty rubbish tyre to drive on for the next couple of corners. And Quinn, as you said, having a tricky season, another issue then, and he'll be ruining that mistake.
Yeah, Danny's he's just not quite in the right headspace for victories. We've seen him win here in Kia before. We've seen him win in VSL and various other leagues, but he just seems to get in a negative headspace, and you just know it's one of those, you just need to look at it long term. He's got another yellow there. Is that for Ben Harrah again? So yeah, I reckon that is the same what you were talking about. I think it must be floor damage, perhaps from that incident on lap 1. We saw it in the Cup over the last few rounds with Jamie Numbers. He's been suffering with wing floor damage as he's been pointing backwards more than forwards over the last 2 races. But OKK now all over the back of Jess, as Jess, of course, winner of the first race of the season, first ever female race winner in JACKOCAR, and probably one of very, very little female race winners in league racing ever. So she's currently holding on to P9. She knows that she's already in the playoffs. She doesn't need to fight position. It's all for just going out there and just doing her thing until the playoffs come. But what can OKK do? He's closing in with DRS. Will he be able to go? He goes for the outside, but he's going to have the DRS, and Jess usually, there you go, a little bit of a wiggle just to allow him down the inside, and she doesn't fight it too hard. She did say that she needs to learn to be a little bit more defensive and get her elbows out a little bit more, but OKK looks as though he had the overspeed and gets past, and now up into P9.
Yes, and Lesty got himself past Sully on that lap, and he'll be now closing in on Leroy. And you would expect on the quicker medium compound tyres, we get a full course yellow of some description. I believe it's a VSC. Not entirely sure what for, but gives Newgarden and Ben a chance to pit, although Ben is retiring. So I would imagine he did have some sort of extra damage to the car. Perhaps he was even the cause of that VSC. But it doesn't look like it's going to upgrade to full safety car. But what I was saying was that Lesty, you'd expect on those medium compound tyres, when we go green again, he should be able to catch up and probably pass Leroy, and that might cause him a few problems. I'm sure Pete will be very much hoping that happens. Yeah,
absolutely. Of course, Leroy has made those 2 mandatory stops that you need to make in JACKOCAR. So in JACKOCAR, 2 mandatory stops for everyone, unless you're running a Joker, which you can take 1 time per season. However, none will be taken tonight, as there we go, we're back to green.
Another yellow, though. Someone else has gone off straight away.
Is that Newgarden? There's so many dark coloured cars.
Do you know what? Might be Ben's AI actually came back out onto track. I was about to say that could have been problematic, but it luckily wasn't an actual accident happening, as Jess gets herself back past OKK, who's on his way into the pit lane to take his 5-second penalty, remember, as Thomas Nevitt lets Rageman come past, which is an interesting move.
Now, I believe these two have previously shared a party, so it might be that they've discussed that, because Thomas, he was doing very nicely indeed in Australia until he had an incident that effectively ruined his chances of winning that race. Start of the season, hasn't quite found focus since then, but he's a loud rage man. As you say, Robin's having, for someone that's not even in the playoffs, is having a really good season. In the races he has finished, he tends to finish in the top 3, 4, 5 positions, but of course has had a couple of DNFs that's held him back. But it is still Pete now on lap 12 of 25, leading by 20 seconds. He's still got a pit stop to make. However, he's almost got an entire window on everyone else.
Yeah, I was saying about Leroy and his gap. Well, he's 27.7 seconds behind Pete right now. So do you know what? Pete pretty much has this thing under control. I think Leroy is looking at a safety car now, because if a safety car comes out, it wipes that 27 seconds out. 28 seconds now. He really is just so much faster than everyone else.
Yeah, fastest lap as well by 6-7 tenths of a second. He's absolutely walking this one at the moment. He could probably afford to drive in fifth gear for the next 2 laps, and he probably wouldn't lose too much time. But Pete doing exactly what he needed to get himself back on the top step of the podium, as Lesty's still closing in on Leroy as Thomas picks up 3 seconds. He's one of the, in fact, is he the first one? Yeah, he's the first one to get slapped with the driving standards or track extending. So that's 3 seconds for him. He's currently in P3. However, do we have 1 stop left to make for Thomas? He in fact might even be 2, because I know several came in under the under the safety car.
Matt Shepard going for a spin. Same place where we're seeing everyone else doing it, right towards the end of the first sector's S section. And so we're seeing tyres overheating there. It's inevitable, I'm sure. At some point, someone's going to collect one of those spinning cars.
I mean, we saw
so
it, didn't
close.
we? We saw it in the Cup Series or in the Championship 5 with Corey had it. Then he collected Kieran, and so it can happen. And especially this corner that we've just seen Matt Shepard go through, that's the corner at the back end of the circuit, or the top end of the circuit. It's off camber and it just catches you out, especially on exit. If you put the power down too early, I mean, some of these guys will be running full TC, but the guys that are running medium and no traction, it's very easy on an off-camber corner just to get your foot down a little too early and put the car around. Of course, sim damage in JACKOCAR, which is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing for us and it's a curse for these guys, but into the pits comes Thomas Nevitt off of those hard tyres that he was on, and will promote Leroy now up into P3. And as you say, as Bazza getting slapped with 3 seconds, but as Thomas leaves the session, that's a shame there. It might be a disconnection, but I'd be surprised in the pit lane. Matt Shepard, he'll be in his debut race. I mean, debut race at Saudi Arabia is probably not the place you want to make a debut, but jump into the fire. It's the best way to get started, isn't it? But he currently sits in P9, so he's not actually outside the top 10 at the moment, so doing quite nicely. He's got Quinn behind him as well, but I mean, currently lap 14 of 25, so not far off 10 laps to go, and Pete is absolutely dominating this.
And he's got to keep going a couple more laps. The reason he's not pitted yet is because you only get 1 set of medium compound tyres. I think if he had another set, he would have pitted again by now, because he's already got the playoff point that he would have been looking for. He already has his fastest laps and all that, but I just don't think a set of sauce would get into the end. But he is pitting now, so maybe he thinks it can. And you just couldn't write it, could you? Just as he's in the pit lane, he gets his safety car. And Leroy will be absolutely... He won't believe this. He will not believe it when he watches this back. That both of Pete's pit stops, he was committed to the pit lane as the safety car came out. It's like he's got a sixth sense. It's unbelievable stuff. As we see Pete then coming back into the race, still in the lead.
I mean, we were talking about in the Cup chat the other day about the fact that, has Pete got it in for Iceman? We've seen him take him out in Spain. Is he having a back channel with the ART team? But it's OKK that brings out the safety car. He's missing a front wing, and this time it's benefited Pete to an absolute dream. Rageman will sit in P5, Lesty in P6. We've got into the box, we've got Sully, Leroy, Jacko, Thomas, Quinn. So they're making stops under the safety car, but onto a set of softs to go to the end, which, I mean, the softs, it's going to be a bit of a stretch to get them to last that long without them overheating. Overheating is an issue around here.
Yes, I mean, we've seen it with how many people have been spinning off in the S section, but the one thing these guys do have is the fact that they at least pitted under safety car, and they'll get 2 or 3 laps on these tyres before they can properly go for it. That's the one thing Pete, I guess, didn't have time to sort out. And so even though he got his dream pit stop, Sully, who's now shuffled up to the highest driver on softs because Leroy had to change the front wing. We saw him crashing into the back of, I don't remember exactly who it was, might have been OKK, when he made his pit stop earlier on in the race. He had to change his front wing. That explains his slight pace deficit as well, but he's on the right tyre now. But let's say that's why Sully's in front of him. These guys will be able to catch up to this safety car train, which means Pete and the rest of them really can't just nip in for a pit stop and keep position. And so this does create a very interesting situation. Pete is going to have to stay committed to these hard compound tyres against people on the softs, one of which is Jacko, who I'm sure, as much as he'll want Pete to win a race, you bet he'd love to be the one to say, I stopped him.
100%. And Jacko has been so close to picking up a decent result all season. It's just fallen away. It went wrong in Belgium where safety car came out at the last stages when he didn't want it. It went wrong in Australia when he was leading and he crashed on the last corner with a couple of laps to go out of the lead. Can he finally get himself on the top step of the podium? He every time he's the luck's not on my side, the luck's not on my side. Well, we'll see. He's got to get past last season's runner-up in the Championship Ivan, Leroy, first. As you say, does Leroy have damage being hit by OKK earlier on as they came into the pit lane? He may have rear diffuser damage. We'll have to find out post-race. But yeah,
I believe it was front wing for him. He's the one I think was doing the crashing into other people. I think that's why OKK picked up the 5 seconds, if I recall correctly. So that's why he changed the front wing in that one. So I hope he's okay, unless of course the next car then concentrated into him. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one, I suppose. Just on pit stops, by the way, if anyone's keeping track, obviously 2nd, 3rd and 4th place have to stop again, along with Bazza. I believe everyone else is in the clear. I hope, anyway.
I'm trying to double check as well. I believe they are as well. It's very convoluted. We know that most of you are JACKOCAR fans, so we don't. I try to explain it in brief as much as possible. But it is a NASCAR F1 hybrid league, so we run rules different to everywhere else, which makes it equally exciting and equally as chaotic. So. Stage 1, I believe, went the way of Pete, and Stage 2 is going to have gone the way of... lap 14. Would that have been Pete? I believe
that would have been Pete.
Yeah, it would have been Pete.
When was the first one?
7 and 14.
I wonder if it was Lesty who got the one on lap 7. I wonder if we were still under safety car at the end of lap 7.
We'll have to...
We were indeed. So yeah, Lesty actually got the first one, and then Pete got the second one.
So that's a playoff point for Lesty, who will at least be able to take that away. That's one bonus playoff point, which you will be able to take into the postseason. So, for those that are watching for the first time, the season goes as follows. They are 8 races in what is called the regular season. They are all fighting to get into the playoffs. The playoffs happen and they take place over 6 races. I believe it's 6 races in the postseason. The top 8 will go through into the playoffs. The bottom 8 will go into what is called the chase. The chase effectively have one lucky loser who wins the chase, goes into the Championship 5. So only 5 people will be able to win the championship come the end of the season. The top 4 in the playoff standings and the lucky loser from the chase. You win playoff points, however, by getting fastest laps. You win playoff points by getting podiums, by getting most laps led, and of course by picking up race victories. And a couple have been accumulated. You want to pick up as many as possible. We've seen Yuri and Leroy have been picking up a handful of them throughout the season. They know that when it comes to the playoffs, that playoff points are massive when it comes to the advantage at the start of the playoffs. It's 18 currently for for Yuri, 15 for 18 for Yuri, 15 for Leroy, there we go, 14 for Jake. Jess and Matt Rosemond equally have 5 for their race victory. So almost discounting Pete, this would be a very good result for the likes of Sully, for the likes of Lesty. Lesty, who's looking at making it a third consecutive podium if he can finish on it. But of course, we'll still have to make another stop. 17 of 25, about to become lap 18, which means the laps are definitely starting to fall away from us. And those guys that still need to make another stop kind of need to have a late safety car.
I noticed that Jacko pitted for some reason. Wasn't any front wing damage. He just fancied a new set of softs. But of course the problem with that is it puts him at the back. And so he sacrificed a fight for the podium here. Does he believe he can get himself back through? Of course there's 3 cars in front that have penalties and another one. Well, actually, Baza, one of those has another pit stop to make. But so yeah. He'll make up at least 6 places through pit stops. Possibly another one through a penalty. But I would have rather just stayed where he was, right by Leroy. But, well, he's got his methods, I suppose. I'm not sure I agree with them. And I'm sure I will be roasting him about it on Thursday if it doesn't work. But you'll never hear the end of it if he gets it wrong. Or if he gets it right. But I would say the driver in the worst shape here in terms of tyres just so happens to be, of all the ones who have finished their pit stops, just so happens to be the race leader himself. So Gareth, this should be a very exciting restart.
Yeah, it's all going to be about the traction, isn't it? As he will he go early? Will he go late? Will he give himself an opportunity of getting those tyres up to temperature going down into turn 1? We'll have to find out. As Pete, there we go. There's the detection line, so you can go any time from now. But will he do as Leslie did and leave it until the last minute? Because of course you do give the guys in P2 and 3 a lovely bit of slipstream, and they go waits until the last second. But it's possibly not helped him too much. But behind you can see yellow flag already. Might have been a little bit of contact in towards the midfield. Or we can see Sully sending it down the inside of Jess to get the move done for P6. But you can see there's contact between several behind. Looks as though they might have just about got away with it. It's a good start from Pete. He still held on to the lead of this one. Leslie's now up into P2 ahead of Rageman. Matt Shepherd in P4. Sully in P5. We've got a yellow. Who's
Quinn.
That that's gone around? It's Quinn that's gone around. So once again, disaster for Quinn, and he's falls to the back of this. Yellow flag just localised in the moment. Green.
Everyone, Newgarden losing half his front wing in the wall, and that could have been so much worse. And he nearly goes into Quinn. So Jacko up to 9th, but has picked up a 5-second penalty for the collision with Newgarden. I'm sure he'll be taking that straight to the stewards. And Pete has already made a second's advantage as Sully harries the back of Matt Shepherd, and he now just has to get a move on. If he wants to win this race, he has everything in his ability to do so he's got to put his foot down.
Yeah, you can see hounding the back of the debutant in Matt Shepherd, and he's going to have the ability. You can see Matt maybe not as comfortable on this restart, and the Sully is, but behind Leroy is all over this. He's got his eyes wide open at these two fighting. Will he look to go around the outside of the pair of them going into the final corner? It's the lap 18. 27th corner, and it's
wonderful
outside to the inside, and that's going to be a lovely move. And even if he can get a little bit of a toe, because you can see Matt Shepherd moves across, and that's just going to give him the benefit of the slipstream, and he gets up into P5.
And so, can he kick on now and put himself up towards the front? Jacko's now back to where he would have started, behind that safety car. And like I say, if he can get that 5-second penalty removed, then he could be a factor later on as well. As Newgarden picks up some penalties, although he's already in trouble, and there's a lot of yellow flags out there for Quinn, who is struggling quite a lot out there and trying to just get himself back to the pits at this point. But it's Pete who leads this race by 2 seconds over now Rageman, who finally gets himself back past Lester. He was harrying him that whole last lap, and he can now try and get back to what he was trying to do before, which is catching the race leader, who's quickly scampering away as Leroy up into P4 now.
Leroy on the charge. Lap 19 of 25 here at the 6th round of the season of the JACKOCAR Kia series with myself, Gareth Hall, and Owen White in the commentary box. And make sure you tune in on Thursday with Owen and Jacko for the Cup series, where they'll be racing over in Kota? Austria, sorry.
You're racing in Kota next week in the Kia
There
series.
we go, that's what it is. There we go. So, over to Austria for the last race of the regular season.
Yeah.
There we go. So many calendars.
I hope you've not been practicing for the wrong race.
Oh, it wouldn't make any difference even if it had been. So Leroy now all over the back of Lesty, and look at the traction he's got on those soft tyres compared to the mediums. Lesty's going to come into the box. Oh, that almost caught out the pair behind us. Into the box comes Rageman and comes Matt Lester. So now, Leroy, what have you got? You've got 3.7 seconds to make up on Pete, who's leading this race. Matt Shepherd, he's still going to make a pit stop. We've got yellow in sector 2. Is that for
Quinn? What's he doing here?
Quinn and Newgarden at the back? Are they trying to play this one? Quinn.
You're being very dodgy, lad.
As he gets restarted, and of course those tyres won't want to be playing ball at all, as there goes...
That's Matt Shepherd
Matt
again.
Shepherd has gone around. That's a shame for Matt, because although he had another stop, I was looking between my fingers there as he luckily just managed to stay off the circuit, as through came Bazza and Thomas Nevitt. We've got the pair of them fighting over 7th and 8th position. We've got OKK now over the back of Jess as they fight. Oh, OKK's going to get a snap and he's in the wall. He might have just about got away with that. OKK, as I said, just got on the power a little bit earlier on that off-camber corner at the back end of the circuit, and he traded a little bit of paint, left a bit of Pirelli rubber on that concrete wall, but looks as though he's just got away with it. And in fact, he's still managed to stay within DRS of Jess, so hasn't cost him too much time. But if you're OKK, he's already gone for a spin and lost a front wing. He's managed to recover back to 6th position, so it's a good restart from him. Still within a shine of a top 5, but work to do. And as you say, where's Jacko? Jacko up in P4. If that penalty's really going to hurt him come the end of this race.
Yeah, let's say I'm sure he'll be straight onto his own stewards after this race to say I shouldn't have got a penalty. But we'll wait and see how that one pans out, as we see Pete has easily extended the gap to 5 seconds. So unless something goes wrong from his end, he is now 5 laps away from a first JACKOCAR win in just the longest time. What, 915 days, you say? The longest gap in JACKOCAR history.
Yeah, I mean, possibly in league racing history. It's just been... There've been eons in between his last one, and I'm sure he'll be delighted, whether it's Kia, whether it's Cup. You always want to stand on the top step of the podium. But as you say, the hards are clearly the preferable tyre. Leroy needed to kind of utilise those softs in the early stint. We did say it was going to be a long way to take the softs, and as you can see, he's losing a tenth every couple of corners now. So having to nurse these tyres to the end. We've still got 4 laps left to go, so plenty of time to Pete to extend and Leroy to look after these. Sully in 3rd position is going to be quite happy. Jacko, he's got work to do, 1.6 seconds behind him, and then behind we've got a couple of gaps between everyone. Everyone's deciding to come off these soft tyres and put in another set, realising that maybe 11 laps was a bit of a stretch.
Is this the fastest lap incoming? Oh, it is indeed. Pete is flexing his muscles right here. On the hard confined tyres, unbelievable.
Do we see the likes of Rageman, Lesty, Bazza, Newgarden's out there as well? But of course, we've seen some of these guys that we've had issues earlier on. But let's go on board with Peters. There we go. There's the fastest lap for Rageman. So he'd gone onto a brand new set of soft tyres. He's done a couple of laps to get them up to temperature, and he takes it back off Pete. I'm sure Pete will be. He absolutely obliterated his battery to get that lap. So he's not going to be. He's not. Let's hope that we don't get a yellow here as we go.
It's right in front of him.
Quinn. As Quinn appears from nowhere like Randy Orton and just misses him. But behind Leroy is getting through, Sully gets through, and Quinn is going to have to very, very carefully navigate his way back onto the racing line, because he's going to have, effectively the rest of the field coming through now, as the marshal on the right-hand side just very carefully waves a green flag when it probably should be a blue flag, but because behind is now Thomas Nevitt. So Quinn's getting out of the way as he should. Yellow for him, so localise. What that can do,
isn't it?
I think
no, he's okay.
I believe I think it's just for Quinn getting out of the way. But what that can do, though, is just cost those people that perhaps, like we just saw from Rageman trying to get past Matt Shepherd, the opportunity of getting that move done earlier, because they would have got a overtake under yellow penalty. Here we go, another yellow. Is that for? Yeah, it's for Quinn again. So I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore that part of the circuit. It's going to go continuously yellow as Quinn is effectively just trying to get to the end of this one. as we go around this 27 corner long circuit. Pete now leading by 6.5 seconds. Jacko's got inside that 1 second window to Sully, however, still sitting on that penalty. So, as you say, might be asking the stewards as OKK gets slapped with another. But, yeah, Jacko...
Oh, no! Ah, Rageman and Matt Shepherd coming together. And I tell you, when Thomas Nevitt managed to get through that gap, I'm sure his life flashed before his eyes, because that looked like a 3-car accident. Inevitable. But they've all made it alive and well through. I was about to say Rageman, with no penalties, was looking good to maybe try and challenge for that P4, because he didn't have the penalty, but obviously he now does, because he's just cut a corner and had the spin. But he has still got the pace, so let's see if we can get himself back up the order. But oh, what a shame. He got rear-ended by Matt Shepherd into turn 1.
Oh, that is, yeah, big shame there from Rageman. Clipped and rear tyres. He's going to go and give him a receipt, unfortunately, and Matt Shepherd gets bodied by not only one car, but Lester gets through as well. Up into P8 goes Matt Lester. He's going to now close in on Robin Berder for what is currently 7th position. However, penalties. Oh, is in the back. Is that Shepherd is going to go round? And there we go. Loses the back end into the wall. And this is not what we want to see.
Oh, we don't like seeing this, do we?
Looks as though he's just going to get away with it. There goes Bazza. He drops down, and luckily that it was a quieter day as we get that shot. There's going to be a pit stop there for Matt Shepherd. Yellow flag, however, now for please don't say that's Quinn.
Oh, it's a rare puncture this time for Quinn.
Quinn.
I tell you what,
Don't flat
if we weren't on that 24, I'd almost say it's a guaranteed safety car. This instead, it could be a guaranteed black flag because he's just driving the complete wrong way down the track at this point.
I mean, that was stupid from Quinn. You're picking up points regardless. I know he's frustrated that the race hasn't gone his way, but his car is now going to sit in the middle of the circuit.
Where's well, Pete's nowhere near this, luckily, but it depends how quickly the car disappears, because Pete nearly crashed into it last time he came across him, and give it about 20 seconds, he'll be on him again. So hopefully that car will be disappeared by the time the race leader comes through, because with a second lead, he'd be almost sure that this will be his win. Now, there will be a bit of that front wing left on track as well, but it appears that none of it's going to get in Pete's way. And, well, he can only focus then on the last lap and a third. He is so very nearly home for the victory that he's been waiting for again, 915 days. What a stat that is.
Ridiculous. As he's, in fact, goes cruising a little bit through where Quinn was. So, yellow flag for Matt Shepherd once again. He's been in for a stop, I think, and on his outlap, unfortunately, he's found himself in the wall again. But on to the final lap goes Pete Knighton, leading this one by a country mile to make his way around the next 27 corners. The most corners in F1, not since, of course, 1976. I think this is the most since when the last race of the Nordschleife, when won by James Hunt when Niki Lauda had his big crash.
Jacko! No, Jacko, you didn't want to crash. I'm watching you.
So I'm gonna who wants to go on board with Pete? I was sticking with Pete, but I didn't see that he got this close. But yeah, Jacko, perhaps is he going to try and force Sully into a mistake, hoping that he picks up a penalty?
Well, he was briefly ahead of Sully, but he's now falling back behind again, and you can see that OKK's all over the back of him. And I suppose we can pick this up later on, though, because it is all about Pete. 915 days is just, Jesus Christ, he's just weaving, okay. It's just short of 131 weeks. That's a very long time. That's a ridiculously long time. I'm not even sure COVID was at its peak by that point. It's been that long. And as Pete comes through the last sector now, he's taken the mick. But you know what? This fight for P3 is properly exciting because there's only half a second between all three of them, and we're going to somehow have to watch both of these happen at the same time. I reckon Jacko's going to get through! He does get through! But more importantly, there's a very special driver coming across the line, very slowly indeed.
In fact, we go full yellow.
Through, is he? He's letting Leroy through. What's all this about, lads?
This is going to be close.
Oh, he's letting Jacko win.
So Sully takes the victory. Wow.
Well, Jacko, I'm sure, will be turning around to them and saying, I'm going to get the penalty removed, it's fine, it's fine. So, I have a feeling they've just let Jacko win a race in his own league, I believe, for the first time.
I think
if so.
I believe.
He's into the playoffs. If that is, because I believe that penalty will get removed, because there's a weird penalty to get given. I have to say that I watched it happen. I didn't think it was a penalty at the time. I said straight away it'll get removed. And, well, clearly Jacko and the rest of them think it'll get removed, which would suggest that even though it says Sully's the winner for now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if that gets changed to a JACKOCAR victory for Jacko.
Wow.
In his car.
So, who would have thought? I mean, it's a Saudi Arabia finish, isn't it? We don't. It's exactly what we were expecting. I mean, Pete dominated.
More importantly, that means that Pete's 131 week wait. It will hit the full 131 weeks rather than just being 2 days short of it, and so that means Pete has decided he will not stat pad this victory. So fair enough.
Yes, well, I say as he should. I would have taken any victory that came my way, but well done from Pete. He dominated the race as OKK gets in-game driver of the day. I'm not quite sure I agree with that one, but you do you game, but. Yeah, what a race once again. Pete dominating behind. We had a ridiculous finish. I was trying to watch Pete come across the line, but it took him about 40 minutes to get from the final corner to the line, which allowed everyone to cruise up. I think I'd like to know if Jacko's in the party with the speed guys, because I reckon they were trying to orchestrate Sully to get that victory. And if Jacko manages to come away with a victory out of that, they're all going to be feeling a little bit bashful, aren't they, as they slowed down and gave that one up. But it is. Currently and provisionally, Sully taking the victory. However, as you say, it may be going the way of Mr. Ricketts, who finished all the way down in what was P5, but maybe P1. But it is Sully, currently, provisionally, your race winner ahead of Pete. Leroy OKK up in 4th position. Good result from OKK from 15th with, 2 spins and a broken front wing in 4th position. Jacko, Rageman, Matt Lester, Jess, Thomas Nevitt and Bazza in the top 10. Then we had Newgarden and Matt Shepherd on debut, where it all fell apart, unfortunately, for him in the late stages. Ben Harrett with a DNF in the pit lane. Quinn got DSQ'd for driving the wrong way, and Yuri got DSQ'd for being Yuri. So what a race going! It's not just Cup Cleary. It's just a JACKOCAR thing.
It is, isn't it? I hope what do we call him? Car 97. I hope he's not watching, because he'll be calling for this league to get shut down again for race fixing. This is not the first time we've seen a race get decided on the line in a rather suspicious way. And I'm sure Jacko will be loving every second of this until he gets his own stewards to look at his own incident and for them to turn around and say, actually, it was a penalty. I doubt that'll happen. I really do doubt that'll happen, because I don't think it was a penalty.
Well,
and
so, as Mr. Ricketts has always said, that time penalties should never be removed. So,
wow.
So let's see if the man holds on to his word as he looks for a place in the playoffs. We will find out. What a race. Enjoyed that. Loved having you alongside. Make sure if you've enjoyed this, guys, that you drop a like on the video. It really does help out. I know I sound like a YouTube shill, but it does help if anyone's watching F1 content on YouTube at the time. The more likes means the more chance you'll have your video or your live stream published in their must-watch box, or the box on the side. Equally, make sure you subscribe if you're not already. We know that a couple of you, in fact, I can look at the stats, so I'll come back to you, but how many people are watching this but aren't subscribed already? We know that 60% of you are. So the 40% of you that aren't subscribed, make sure you do. Give us a hand, but make sure you join.
Even the bots.
Well, especially the bots. They've got nothing. They're here every week. They're the solid viewership.
They're so committed to us.
They're so keen. But make sure you tune in on Thursday with Owen and Jacko for the final round of the regular season. And just before we wrap up here, let's give. First of all, we've got to do our drivers of the day. Second of all, let's have a quick preview of Thursday, Owen.
Yes, so Thursday is looking very exciting indeed. Jacko says that we've pretty much got the ideal scenario because we stand in a position where the regular season is separated by 10 points between the top 3 drivers, which means that'll be very exciting to watch. But also the playoffs, 8 drivers are qualified so far, including some unknown called Gareth Hall. I've never heard
I
of
don't
him.
know how that happened.
Yeah, so apparently he's qualified, but there are still 2 spots left. And the drivers in contention for that, Christian Hataru, Yuri Hasselager, Jordan Lane, Ben Harrah, and Michael Okeke, they're all sort of separated by 15 points, right? But Yuri and Jordan, 10th and 11th, right on that cut, they're on equal points. So we're going to be watching those standings the whole night and watching to see how those change. Of course, there are many drivers who are still on must-win basis. Jess, Pete, MK Bourne, Sully, Sullivan Lewis, Connor, Corey, Tees. So there's plenty of potential for drama. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. Jack was looking forward to seeing it. Austria has always provided excellent drama. And, well, we always look at the bottom of the championship for Austria because it is where, I think in Season 3, we saw Sullivan Lewis, who was bottom of the championship, win the race and go straight to the playoffs. So definitely be there for that one.
Yeah, you cannot miss it. Of course, last season, Corey took out the top 3 in the race. Of course, Yuri going on to win that. It didn't count in the standing because he wasn't a full-time driver, which is he's never quite forgotten that one. But that is a must-not-miss race on Thursday. So make sure you tune in for that one. But Owen, thanks very much for joining me. It's been delightful. I'm glad you've come to join me, and hopefully we can do the rest of the season. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. It's been great fun having you.
Yeah, I look forward to next week. That was good fun.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you find out more by going to @JACKOCAR on Twitter to find out more about the league, and of course all of the standings you can find out by going to @JACKOCAR2 for the standings and everything coming up in the Kia series. We will be back next week here on Tuesday evening with myself, Gareth Hall, and Owen White as we go over to Texas for the Lone Star State for the Circuit of the Americas with the penultimate round of the regular season. But thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this one. That was Jeddah. This is Kia at the JACKOCAR. We'll be back on Thursday. Good night.